Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV. The main talking points on tonight's programme. Brendan Rodgers refuses to rule out a possible move for Steven Gerrard as he announces his departure from LA Galaxy. Walter Smith says Rangers must invest in the January transfer window. And Ali McCoy says the talent just isn't there to compete at international level. Just a few of the topics we'll be discussing. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin. I'm delighted to see our boot-room guest is Motherwell's General Manager Alan Burrows. The difficult job of trying to keep Motherwell rolling along and staying in the Premiership as well. And of course we'll get a chance to talk about Motherwell in depth, some of the players they've got coming through, and of course the difficult job that Mark McGee faces throughout one season to another. So lots to look forward to. First of all, Celtic had their AGM this morning. The board were voted back on. A number of issues that are always discussed at the AGM, but I would imagine, Ruffy, when you've qualified for the Champions League, you've got a manager that everybody's behind, the gates are up, the season tickets are up as well, everything's rosy in the garden.
Yeah, it's an AGM. I think any club, anybody part of a club would be welcome to go to. You know, obviously the questions would all be quite easy to answer. They have had a good season, as you've said. The European football makes a big difference to everything. The finance, the players are happy, everybody's happy. So yeah, I would have thought that would have been an easy shift today.
Yep, Brendan Rodgers obviously was going to be asked about Steven Gerrard. There is a link, of course, with the two of them at Liverpool. Gerrard linked with the likes of Newcastle, Paris Saint-Germain, also quoted with the bookies, and of course Newcastle's got the Rafa Benitez link on this. It's one of those stories that will just gather pace, go on for a few days until he eventually probably takes a coaching job at Liverpool. But for the moment, we might as well hear what Brendan Rodgers has to say about it.
Steven, as he's been an incredible player. I had a number of years with him at Liverpool where he was absolutely brilliant for me. You know, as a young manager going into such a great club and having the captain and real senior player there, to be able to work closely with him and learn about the club and obviously work together on the field was fantastic. So he decided obviously to go to America, and I'm sure he's had a good spell there. And Steven will, I'm sure, sit down now and come back and decide what it is he wants to do. But in terms of the speculation, I'm not sure where it came from. But players coming into the club will always remain private and within Celtic.
OK, at an AGM, it's good not to rule that sort of signing out. Alan Burrows, you probably cut off your right arm to get Steven Gerrard in a claret and amber shirt.
Yeah, I think that would be. I think that goes without saying. I suppose I can give you an exclusive in this show that if Steven Gerrard fancies playing for Motherwell for appearance and bonus for the next 6 or 7 months, then get in touch. Get his agent to get in touch. No, but Gerrard's been a terrific player for his full career. He's done it at the very top level. Won numerous European trophies with Liverpool. A terrific player, a terrific talent. If he were to come to Scottish football, then I suppose it just gives the whole game, just another bit of a boost from that. But as you say, I'm sure there'll be no shortage of suitors for his talents. Yeah, and as I mentioned there, Celtic obviously banking somewhere in the region of 26 million, may even be higher for the Champions League. But clubs like yourself, well happy that you get a little spin-off from it. Oh, absolutely. I always joke with people, and I'm a Motherwell fan through and through. I have been all my life, and I think everybody who knows me knows that. But when Scott Brown scored that goal against Beersheva at home to make it 5-2, probably nobody celebrated that goal as much as I did, because I knew the implications for clubs like Motherwell and other Premier League teams is significant. And obviously, what this round of European game, this is the second year of a 3-year cycle in UEFA. So the money that clubs are set to make this year and next year, obviously from Celtic's participation in 16-17, is far higher than we've ever had before. So yeah, it was a real shot in the arm to all the clubs in the Premier League at the time, and obviously even over and above that as well. And this goes for Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs, Aberdeen, or Motherwell when they were in it. You want to see Scottish clubs do well. Just for the good of the game, you want to see as many teams from this nation progress as far as we can. So a combination of self-interest with finance, but also from the prestige element of the game, to have them there was great.
Yeah, okay, from Celtic, the launch of the new Torrens Park Golf Club prompted Ali McCoist and Walter Smith to roll up there with one of our regular guests, Murdo MacLeod, and with a defeat against England, the fallout from it still continues. This is what the former Rangers managers had to say on Scotland.
I think he was the best man to take them into that second half of the qualification. Gordon will know the players better than them. As I say, I thought they had some exceptional performances while not qualifying for the European Championships. If we can recapture that for them, there's no reason why we shouldn't get ourselves into second place.
If it was as simple as just getting rid of the manager and things would improve, then that would be getting done. It's not. It's anything but the case. From where I was, actually, I thought Scotland for an hour probably put in arguably their best performance of the campaign so far against the best team in the group. But it's been said since the game, you don't take your chances, you won't win the game. And we had, up until Raheem Sterling's chance, we had the best chances in the game by a mile. We are where we are, and we've got what we've got at the moment. And what we've got at the moment is a very hard-working, honest bunch of lads that lack a little bit of real class.
Okay, Ali McCoist with an assessment I'm sure many of us agree with. Football's all about levels. Our level's not quite what it used to be, Alan, but are we overreacting to where we are in the group and the state of the whole game, because everybody now is over-analysing it, in my view?
I don't know if overreacting is the word, Peter. I think what it does show is that people really care passionately about Scottish football, and I think that is the only positive that I can draw out of all the furor that there's been over the last couple of days, that there's obviously still a huge passion for football in this country. I agree with quite a lot of what Ali said there, in terms of, I don't think the issue that the game's faced is starts and stops with the national team manager. I think it probably runs far deeper and touches on a number of points, many of which Gordon and his coaching staff and the current players of the Scottish national team have no control over. And again, there is no silver bullet really to that. So I think there's a variety of things that would probably have to happen for things to improve. That said, I don't think Gordon or the coaching staff or any of the SFA need me or anybody else within the game to tell them what they think of what the campaign is. I'm sure they all know, and it's obviously the position that I've got at the club at Motherwell. I've got to be careful what I say, but it's a difficult job. There's no doubt about that. And changing the manager, if that's what the SFA decide to do, whoever inherits it, if that's what they go ahead with, still faces the same problems that Gordon has now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Ali's been highlighting, a lot of the things that we're looking through the whole structure, Ruffy. About the fact that we do not have, an abundance of talent, lots of people to talk about or call on. We've got a small select few to try and get us there, and I don't think changing the manager is the right thing to do.
No, I don't think so either. I think it's always been identified that countries do go in cycles. And sometimes it's 5, 6, 7 year cycles of no success.
Ruffy, we're on a 20-year cycle.
I'm talking about teams like Belgium, and Germany went through it, Holland went through it, no success for a long time, and they had to sit and bite the bullet until players started to come through. But I think if more clubs like Alan's club start giving youngsters a chance, in games to play at a high level, it would push it on a wee bit. I think the successes we've had with the wee boy Tierney, Andrew Robertson get thrown right into the Dundee United team. The boy Patterson came into Hearts quite young. I think that's where we'll get the benefit, if more of these kids could get in and experience a bigger level of football, if you want to put it that way. Yeah,
absolutely. You've got players coming through as well. I mean, obviously, still going to take time for clubs who've got good youngsters coming through. Yeah, absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly with Alan there. I think the key is, and we talked before we came on air about when Alan made his debut at 16, and we're racking our brains about what 16-year-old goalie that there is playing competitively in Scotland or probably even Britain at the moment. It fails to happen. I agree. I think it's all about trying to get as many younger players, good talented younger players, into squads and playing games as early as possible. That comes with its own pressure, the way that the game and the leagues are set up. It's very tight, it's very cutthroat, so it doesn't always lend itself to managers being able to throw it in, because the nature of young players is inconsistency, performances that go up and down, and the way that football has become now, it's very success now sort of set up that we have. It's
results are demanded right from the get-go. You see in England, managers barely lasting 3 months.
Yeah.
So that almost puts off managers from putting it in. So I think there's a whole aspect of looking at the whole structure of the game, even the size of the leagues. How does that lend itself to young players playing? But as you mentioned, we've got a couple of really good ones. There's Chris Cadden is in the under-21 squad at the minute. We've got huge high hopes for him as well. But if we can try and get a system where more guys are playing at an earlier level in competitive first team action, I think that's only about a benefit.
We're going to talk to you, Alan, about Motherwell, young players, and of course the grand plan for Motherwell as well. And we will also discuss some of the other news coming up in the next part of the programme. Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show here on STV. Our bootroom guest is Motherwell's General Manager, Alan Burrows. Are there any other titles that I've missed out on, Alan? Just that worry?
None that you could put on camera that we show on STV.
Absolutely right. I'm going to talk Motherwell very shortly, but of course, money's always the issue, getting the right players in. The expectations sometimes far exceed the reality. As far as Rangers are concerned, I mentioned that Walter Smith was out there the Torrance Park Golf Club today. He was talking about his old club, and he reckons they need to find money from somewhere to invest in the team in the January transfer window.
So the club's problems is the circumstances that they were in when the current board have taken over. So while it was going to take a little bit of time for Mark Warburton to adjust football-wise, it's going to take the board a little bit of time to adjust to the financial aspects. But when you take over at Rangers, that's what you have to do. But, they've got a lot to do as well. So I think if we're looking all in all, if the club can finish second this season, get themselves in the second half of the season a bit closer to Celtic, then I think you can look for the following season for Rangers to put up a better challenge.
What do you make of that, Ruffy? I mean, Walter, clearly, like many Rangers fans out there, are looking at that window and thinking, OK, show me the money.
Yeah, well, they've lost a couple of big players, and you'd want to replace them, but it's hard to see where the money's coming from. We're led to believe that they're already borrowing from some of the big hitters, and also borrowing something like 800,000 to see them to the end of the season. So it'd have to be somebody like that who has the same thought of Walter, to just say, right, there's another loan, go out and get a couple of players. But second place is where they want to be. I think they might have to do that because some of the results, obviously away to Ross County and drawing games, they might need another couple of players.
Yeah, of course, Alan, it's difficult enough at the best of times trying to manage the expectations of Motherwell. Rangers, I think maybe some fans are looking for this to happen too quickly.
Probably, I think, but that's the expectations you get when you get a big club. And that doesn't go for Rangers, that goes for any club in the world who carry that sort of level of support. You're right, expectations at Motherwell are big, and it's economies of scale really. The higher up you go, the more it is. I think I suppose the note of encouragement I could give any Rangers supporter who's listening to what I say is that the guy who's running the ship there is a real friend of mine, a guy I've known for a long time, and a guy who actually gave me my job at Motherwell, a guy called Stuart Robertson, the managing director. And Stuart's a very shrewd operator. He's a straight batter. He's a really top guy and a really Rangers man as well. So he'll have the absolute best interest of the club, and I'm sure he'll make sure through his tenure that Rangers are on the right pathway. And however long that time that takes, I think he'll do it prudently.
Yeah, OK. From Rangers to the capital, Hearts and Hibs. First of all, the Hearts, the main stand, the work's underway, Ruffy. I think once that gets up to 20,000, that main stand, hopefully there'll be a bit more legroom in the press box, please, and Budge. But nevertheless, I just think it's going to be a fabulous stadium. Yeah,
it is just now. It's a fantastic atmosphere to be in. You're right, that's the old stand's been there for a long time, and I'm sure the Hearts supporters would love to have that stadium complete, and I think when it is complete, it'll be a wonderful atmosphere in there. Yeah,
and across the city, your old club, Hibs, Neil Lennon wants the crowd to crank it up. I think he's now looking for them to try. This is a period, Queen of the South coming up at the weekend, but this is a period when he's looking for the fans to really help the side push on so that they can make that surge. I always think January, February, you can, start to really post your intent.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really tight until the end. I think all the teams underneath Hibs have proved that they're going to make a fight of it. We all thought Hibs were going to go on a wee run and draw away. There was going to be a gap. There isn't a gap there. And when there isn't a gap there, it puts pressure on the players. There's a lot of players that Hibs haven't having to deal with what's coming up ahead. So yeah, he'll want a 2 or 3 wins just to maybe get that gap to secure that first place.
Okay, and talking of the man on my left-hand side here, Motherwell sit 10th. I'm not going to say it's a 6-pointer at the weekend because I always think Kenny Dalglish is saying, how have they changed the rules? But it is a massive game.
Yeah, Kenny's right. I don't think 6-pointers exist at this stage of the season. And I think what we always have to take it. Nobody wants to look at the table and see themselves in 10th position. Of course you don't. But a win on Saturday could put us at 6th. Such is the nature of how tight the league is. There's so little points between 6th place and bottom. In fact, I was speaking to Ian Maxwell, the managing director at Partick Thistle yesterday, and we were saying over the last couple of years it's always looked quite, even by this stage, as if one club was almost going to start to drift away at the bottom. St Mirren 2 years ago had started fairly difficultly. Dundee United had their problems early on last year too, but this year it seems very, very difficult for any of the clubs at the bottom. You literally couldn't put a cigarette paper between any of the 6 clubs at the bottom. It just who happens to get maybe the luck of the green on the day. If you look at the last game against Dundee, who just turns up on the day and who really kick on. So it's so difficult to predict. It must be a bookie's dream, the Scottish Premier League at the minute, or Scottish Professional Football League at the minute. But the hope for us, as I said, is a couple of wins and all of a sudden you can be right up there. We're still within touching distance of the top 6, so it's still very much for us. We're looking up the way.
Yeah, I'm slightly biased on this. I don't see you being involved in the relegation. I said it to Ruffy when Mark McGee joined last season. I said they'll pull away because I rate him as a manager. He's had to deal with the loss of Les Hutchison, the money. He's also, the budget's been cut dramatically, which is a difficult job for you to try and manage with Mark. But you've got some good youngsters coming through.
Absolutely. And yeah, you're right, Mark has had some difficulty. And remember when Mark came in to replace Ian Barraclough, like Dundee United last year, we had to go off to a stuttering start. It's probably the best way to describe it. And then Mark wins 2 Manager of the Months over December and February, I think it was, and we finished 5th, which was fantastic for us. We weren't expecting to finish 5th, we were hoping to and we were aiming to, but to get there was a real boost in our arm. Yeah, you're right, Mark's an experienced campaign. He's had almost 950 games as a manager, and everybody's going to have their opinions, and I respect everybody's right to have opinion in football. It's much like the Scotland manager's job that everybody's wants to see the guys in there doing well, and some people think it can work, some people that it can't. But as we've said there, Mark's had a difficult set of circumstances with change of ownership so soon after he joined. It was only maybe 4 or 5 months after he came in that the owner posted his intention, Les Hutchison, at the time to move on. That means a tightening of the belt because you've not got that safety net, and that's fine, and that's not just in the football budget but all budgets at the club. But also one of Mark's big remits, and he's been at pains to reiterate this over a number of times, is exactly what you say there, that Motherwell has to go back to what we talked about earlier on, is a club who bloods young players and plays them and puts faith in them with a view to also help my first team, but with a longer term view to trade them on, and that's what helps keep the club ticking over in a way. And with the likes of Ben Hall who come in, was out the picture, Mark brought him in, he's now at Brighton. Chris Cadden signed a 3-year deal. We've had Ross McLean, we've had Alan Campbell, we've had Jack McMillan, we've had Jake Hastie. We went to Celtic Park a couple of weeks ago with 6 academy graduates in the squad, which is fantastic for a club like us. So yeah, from that side of it, we're really happy with how it's going.
Okay, every Motherwell fan will be hanging on your every word on this. Lots of people will be looking at Motherwell because of this blueprint of fan ownership and whether it's going to work. Do you feel the club now, in the foreseeable future, is in good shape?
Yeah, I don't think the Welsh Society would have taken the club on had they not looked at the short to medium term and seen some stability there. That was a key for them. They didn't want to walk into something that was going to topple over straight away. So that's why the process took from February to now to really kick on. There was a lot of due diligence done, there was a lot of studying in the numbers, and a combination of player sales, a combination of being a little bit more tighter with the budgets around the club, and also, as we mentioned earlier on, Celtic's qualification into some of the European competitions both last year and this have allowed us to have a fairly plain, not plain sailing by any means, no club is plain sailing, but if everything goes the way we hope it's going to go, between now over the next 24 months, then financially it's fairly stable from that point of view, and that's what we hope. So we've got a point to build on that we're comfortable with. It's now about trying to take up to the next step, and that's a combination of the fans hopefully coming with us in terms of the Welsh Society, hopefully the team doing as well as it can do, and also me and my team from a management point of view trying to maximise as many commercial opportunities as we can.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's actually unusual. It's the first time we've been in your company without you picking up an award.
Yeah.
now the pressures are different.
Really on,
you know, from all that positivity, now people are just saying results.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like anything, as we talked about earlier on the Rangers and the economies of scale. The further you go in a football club, the more pressure you're under, and the more you're blamed if it goes peak tong. So, you know, that comes with it. But that's fine. We all know what we work under. You know, Mark's the same, the board, the directors at the club are the same. But the good thing is, from our point of view at Motherwell, the people who run the club are real Motherwell people, die-hard, die-in-the-wheel Motherwell supporters. But also, as important, in my view, there's some real talented business guys and business minds who sit on the board of directors as well. So I hope we've got a good combination.
Yeah, well, we certainly do as well. And for the benefit of Ruffy and other people that played around Ruffy's time, Pete Tong is a dance DJ. Just for the old rhyme and slang. Just thought I'd give you that, Ruffy, because there's you might be sitting next to him, but there's a huge generation gap in what music Alan's into and what you're into. And Alan hasn't even heard of The Bachelors. Okay, so thanks to Alan Burrows. We're absolutely delighted to come in. If you're a Motherwell fan, hopefully some questions have set your mind at ease. And of course, with Mark McGee, big game at the weekend. We'll be looking at that on the Saturday show as well. From Alan Burrows, from Alan Ruff, and from myself, Peter Martin. Join us tomorrow on the show at 7 if you can. Good night.